Good morning, everyone, and welcome to StartupStarter TV. My name is Laurel Scott. I am the co-founder of StartupStarter and your host for StartupStarter TV. We are back with another amazing class. This one brought to you by Lemonlight Media. They are helping you understand how to strategize and iterate your company to the market with video marketing. So welcome to today's class, how to market your startup with video marketing with Lemonlight. And I'd like to welcome to the stage not only the wonderful Chloe Romero, as well as Hollis Cameron. And Hollis and Chloe are great at what they do. Chloe is the social media content strategist, and Hollis is the director of marketing at Lemonlight. So how are you guys doing today? Welcome to StartupStarter TV. This is your guys' first time, and we're excited to have you guys. Can't wait to hear from you guys and to tell people how they can get their strategy and tell their story with video marketing. So yeah, tell me a little bit about yourselves and we'll knock it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's awesome to be here. Thank you, Laurel, so much for having us. We're really excited to jump into things. And I'll introduce myself and Hollis in just a moment too. We have a slide for that, but great to be here.
Well, good. Yeah, I will let you guys take it away. I am here if you guys need anything. If you are watching live, you can, inside of Beam, you can go in and you can leave comments and chat with each other there as well. And then after this is over, if you guys decide you want to stick around, you want to go into co-working, we do have a co-working space that you can actually go talk to the other people that are registered for this event. So check that out as well. And then if you want to learn more about what's coming up in the future, go to the Learn section inside of Beam as well. You can look at all the other content. So I'll see you guys on the other side, and let's take it away.
Thanks, Laurel.
Right, no problem. See you guys.
Great. So thank you guys so much again for joining us. Like Laurel said, we are talking about how to market your startup with video. And the reason that Hollis and I wanted to talk about this today is just in general, creating video content can be really challenging, but it's especially challenging for startups. You guys, like, you have so much going on, so many things on your mind. Probably the last thing you're worried about is video marketing, but hopefully in this next hour, we will give you guys the foundation so you feel confident to start creating video content for you and for your brand. And so just a little bit about us. My name is Chloe. Like Laurel said, I'm the social content strategist here at Lemonlight. I've been working at Lemonlight for the past couple of years. Besides managing our social media, I also inform video marketing content to our audience with our monthly webinars. So definitely check them out. And if you haven't heard of us here at Lemonlight, we are an on-demand video production company. We create video content from start to finish for brands and agencies worldwide. So really, no matter where you are located, we have videographers to film content for you. And then we edit and do all of our post-production in-house at our LA headquarters. And so Hollis, did you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like we've got some people joining us here. So, thanks so much for taking the time out of your day to watch this, and hopefully it's valuable to you. I worked in digital marketing for over 10 years now, and I've been on every side of the coin. I've been in-house as a director of marketing in a number of companies. I've been on the kind of agency side, wearing every hat you can imagine, whether it's creating content, writing, paid media, you name it. I've worked in video production actually for 4 or 5 years with my own startup production company that we grew into nothing massive, about $500,000 a year in revenue. I've worked in SaaS as a chief operating officer, where we raised quite a bit of capital for that project, building an automated marketing platform. And I've worked in e-com as well, getting, our ROI and return on ad spend of at times a 22x ROI, things like that, depending on the category and the product. So I'm really excited to kind of download to you guys some of the war stories and stuff that I know that I've experienced. And honestly, like, I don't know where people are at in their journey here. So, feel free to put it in the chat of like what your business is, your knowledge base, kind of whatever. And that way we can kind of tailor some of this information. But I think Chloe and our goal here is to make sure this is really valuable for you. And save you some of the headache that, we've been through ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And just so you guys know what we're going to focus on today, we're basically going to take you through the entire video marketing strategy, but specifically what's most effective for startups. So starting off, talking a little bit about strategy and what questions you can answer as a brand to figure that out, and then heading into specific types and styles of video that are most effective for startups for building brand awareness, converting your audiences. And then we'll talk a little bit about production, the differences between in-house production, doing it yourself, versus outsourcing a video production company. And then most importantly, we're going to talk about distribution, because you can have a great, awesome video, but at the end of the day, if you don't put it in front of the right audiences, you are not going to see any results. And then we will touch just a little bit on analytics, what types of things that you guys should be tracking in your video marketing to make sure that it's a success. And all that's probably going to be about 50 minutes. We'll have 10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions now about video marketing in general, we'll make sure to answer those at the end. And so then I'll hand it off to Hollis to get started.
So jumping right into things, I think this is kind of a great question to ask, right? Why should I invest in video, or why should I even consider investing in video? And you always have to take where your information is coming from with a grain of salt, right? So we run a video production company. So of course, we're kind of biased in that way. But what I will say is, as somebody who's worked in digital marketing for a very long time, if you have video assets, they can be unbelievably valuable to you. Just another kind of, arrow in the quiver of what you can use to sell your product, educate your audience, whatever it may be. So when I look at this question, I really break it down into 2 sections. So the first is less obvious. So I want to start there. And that's when you're a startup, the most critical thing is having really good product market fit. If you don't have good product market fit, I think you should do whatever it takes to figure that out, at least enough that you're starting to get some traction. Because if you're not presenting the right product with the right message to the right, audience that has that problem, you're just going to be wasting a ton of money. Everything's going to be more difficult, everything across the board. And so something that you may not have thought about that I've seen over the years many, many times is the actual process of creating a video is a great way to start to define and answer some of these product market fit questions. It kind of forces you to think through this process. And at the end of it, you get this very short, concise marketing piece that really does hit on the key components, right? So when you're thinking about it, it's like, what does my product or service solve? What group of people has the biggest issue with this problem and has the money to pay for my solution? How does my product or service solve it better than what's already out there? And to be honest with you, it doesn't even really have to be better. It just has to be at least competitive. Of course, it's better if it's better, but it doesn't have to be, you know? And so that's an element that I've seen time and time again, whereas people start to go through the scripting process, you know, you have to define what's your unique service proposition. Who are you making this video for? What makes your product unique against your competition? You have to start thinking through those things. And so that's something that is kind of a value to creating a video that happens naturally, that you're not really thinking about necessarily when you go into it. Now, if you already have all those elements lined up, more power to you. That's incredible and awesome. That just means now the video can be a little extra gas to throw on the fire as you're looking to really amplify your message and get it out in front of the right people. So that's kind of the first part when I look at this. The second part, and again, feel free to throw, oh, good, we're getting chats already. This is awesome. Thanks, Adam, for chatting in. So feel free to keep putting questions in there and stuff like that. We'll try to get to stuff at the end. But so the other thing is it's just return on ad spend, or ROI, right? Like every decision I make in marketing, I'm thinking about, will this make me more money than I'm spending on it? Like in its simplest terms, right? Sometimes that's really clear. Like, if you're running, Google search ads and, I spent $100 in this campaign and I had, conversions at $50. Okay, great. Like I can tie it back. It's super clean. It's not always that clean, but if you start thinking that way, all your marketing decisions and marketing assets become a little easier to choose. So when you're thinking about possibly making a video and you're looking at, potential spend, depending on, how highbrow you want to go, you might be looking at on the low end, $2,000. On the high end, video can go to the moon if you want to produce a broadcast commercial. But you're looking at that investment and you're saying, well, is this thing going to actually help me make more money ultimately? And I'm a firm believer that it does. I've seen it work a lot of times. We'll get into the specifics on how and why later on, but that's the other thing to ask yourself. So kind of knowing your profit margin on your product or your service that you're getting out there really helps you define, how much this asset can cost you and, what kind of return you need to get from using it. So we can get into all that later. Chloe, I'm probably blowing through our time budget. I don't know, but I just wanted to, this is probably one of the slides I want to spend the most time on because I feel it's really important. So I just kind of want to hit on those two things as you're thinking about what video can do for you. So this quote is something that just really jumps out, because what you're seeing is a trend that video is incredible. Like the amount of views you can get on video and the amount of clicks and just the available exposure is, we're in the glory days of video marketing, because back in the day, you only had 3 channels. You had some TV that had 6 channels but no one could get into it. Only super big brands could afford to buy that time, whatever. Now, no matter how small you are, no matter how niche you are, you can get your video in front of a hyper targeted audience. And we're going to get into that targeting later on. But that targeting is but it's like a superpower that we've only had in the last 5, maybe 10 years. Mm-hmm. So, so this quote really kind of hits home that this stuff works. Marketers know it works. Chloe, we can move on to the next quote. Mm-hmm. Marketers know this stuff works. They use it. That's why you're seeing, there's video ads everywhere. So just keep it in mind, right? If you think about it, 78% of marketers say it's directly helped increase sales. Yeah, you've got TV advertising, OTT, YouTube, remarketing, Facebook, Instagram. All of these platforms do really well with video, better than static images. So just stuff to keep in mind. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so, yeah, obviously, Hollis hit on all the right points. Video is extremely powerful. You guys should definitely be using it. One of the hard parts is figuring out the first step into actually jumping in. And we're going to show you guys how to do that, which is building a video strategy. And we have a couple questions that you guys should consider when you're trying to figure out what types of videos you should create, where you're going to distribute them, and then how you're actually going to speak to a particular audience. And so one way, or the first question that we want to answer is, what are your video goals? And we have our lovely video marketing funnel here, which can help you with that. You guys probably recognize the funnel. It's also called the buyer's journey or just the general marketing funnel. But essentially, it's just the journey that a customer goes through when they first starting at the awareness stage at the very top, when they first learn about your brand. And then as they move through and they finally get to the decision stage when they're ready to make a purchase from you. Now, obviously, you guys are not going to have your audience in one specific stage of the marketing funnel. So we recommend that you create multiple pieces of video content, each with an individual goal that's going to engage a particular audience within one stage of the funnel. So for example, you're going to want some video content with the goal of attracting new customers. So this video is going to introduce yourself to a new audience. It's not going to be salesy. On the other hand, you're going to want to create some other video content that's focused on the decision stage, getting people to actually go to your product pages, your website, to make a purchase for you. So like I said, multiple pieces of video content, each with individual goals that are all spread throughout the marketing funnel. Another thing that you want to ask yourself is, who is my target audience? Probably a lot of you guys have already figured this out, but this is just a reminder that when you're creating your video content, you want to keep this target audience in mind, because these are the people that you want watching your videos, and you want to be able to speak to them directly and engage them. Now, if you don't know who your target audience is yet, you obviously want to ask yourself, what is their age? What gender, but you really want to get specific. The more specific, the better. So figuring out what your target audience's hobbies are they single? Are they married? Do they have children? Answering all these questions are going to really help you speak to them directly and help you down the line.
Those are great points, Chloe. And also just like, what is their big problem that your audience has? Like, what is that exact thing that bugs them that you're solving?
Exactly. And then lastly, our third question here, what message do you actually want to share in your video? A lot of brands come to us and they want to share everything about their brand in a single video. The problem is that if they did that, the video would be 5+ minutes long, and that is not what we recommend. Maximum, your video, no matter where you distribute, should be 2 minutes. I mean, on social media, probably 15 seconds to 30 seconds maximum. So there isn't really the time to share everything you want. Also, if you end up sharing a lot of different messages, your audience is going to walk away not really remembering anything that you said. They're going to just be inundated with all this content. What we recommend instead is thinking of 1 to 3 different ideas that you want the viewer to walk away with about your brand, your product, your service, after watching your video. And so these ideas can be telling the audience, for instance, what problem you are solving for the customer. Also, why is your product unique or better than the competition? Did you want to add?
Yeah, and we understand, like, as entrepreneurs, right? Like, especially somebody starting a business, you've got probably a lot of like irons in the fire, right? Like, you're spinning a lot of plates. And so those decisions of like, what am I really going to go, like, what is the messaging going to be? What's this video really about? They're very, very hard to make, but they're incredibly important. So take the time to like really dive into it, really do your homework, talk to your potential customers, talk to your actual customers. Don't just talk to friends and family, interview businesses, like getting down to like what's actually important, what's actually the reason these people want to buy this is going to help you. You know, so I know it's tough to make those decisions sometimes because you're like, it's all cool, it's all important. But ultimately, if you dilute your message too much with all of these things, like Chloe's saying, you're going to lose a lot of the impact of the video.
And like I was saying before, you can ultimately say everything you want to say in like 5+ videos. We're just talking about like one specific video. You don't want to include everything possible about your brand. And so let's get into a fun section, which I love, because we're talking about video types and styles that you can actually start creating. And before we get into the video types, the first step is choosing the specific style you want your video to be, which we have 4 options here. And when we say style, we are talking about how your story is being told in the video, the overall tone and the messaging. And don't ask us which one is the most effective. These are all effective. It just depends on your brand and what you're actually selling to your audience, which ultimately determines how effective it's going to be. And so the first style here is the lifestyle video. If you have a product specifically and you want to help your audience visualize how it's going to fit into their everyday life, this style of video is a really great option. It usually includes a lot of beautiful visuals, action shots, stunning imagery, and it really sets the mood of your brand. This style is definitely effective, but it does require a lot of pre-production planning. So you need to hire actors, scripting is usually involved, and you also need to have some sort of production set where you're going to film. But like I said, it's really effective for converting audiences. And the next style we have here is narrative. And this is really similar to a lifestyle in the sense that it requires a lot of pre-production planning, has actors, production set, script writing, except it includes a video host who is speaking directly to the camera and telling a story throughout the entire video. If you guys have ever seen the Dollar Shave Club video, which I'm sure you have, thanks to them, this style of video has become extremely popular. And one of the ways that people use narrative style videos is they add humor to it. And so that's what we did for the client here. This is a really good option if you have like a really fun or unusual product, or your branding is just like edgy. You can definitely consider trying to shoot a narrative video with humor involved. And then third here, we have a mini doc style, which I'm sure you guys are all familiar with. This is best for brands that want to feature their team, customers, or even events that you have in a very natural way. It doesn't include hiring actors because it includes the people on your team. Usually when we shoot these, we go directly to your place of business and film there. And then we ask, we kind of have like an interview style where we ask questions. And so if your brand has like a very great mission and core values, this is a great option for you. A lot of these videos are usually posted on home pages because it talks about the brand. So that's a great option. And then lastly, we have animation. This is best for brands with a very complex subject matter or really highly detailed information if you want to convey that. A lot of tech companies come to us to create these style of videos, whether they have a service or a product. Like I said, really easy to explain and digest for viewers in this type of format. And so let's move on to the types of videos. And so the first type that we have here that we really recommend for startups is social content. And that's because these types of videos are really versatile. You can publish them organically on social, as paid ads on social, and they're also effective for both attracting new customers and also converting a current audience. But essentially these videos are just short video clips, 30 seconds or less, no more than 30 seconds, and they're created solely for social media platforms. Since there is so much content to view on social media, the goal for these videos is really to slow the scroll of audiences browsing. So with these videos, you can definitely test out things. You can be fun, you can be playful, but at the end of the day, just really do whatever you can to try to make the first couple shots very engaging, because you want to stop them in their tracks, like I said, from scrolling and have them watch your video. One tip for these is to include text graphics or subtitles, especially if you have someone in this video that's doing voiceover or there's just certain things you want to highlight. And that's because majority of people on social are watching with their sound off. They're watching on their phones and they don't have the sound. So you want to be able to add text in there so they can read rather than listen. And then Hollis, I'll hand it off to you for explainer video. Yeah,
so explainer videos, you touched on these a minute earlier. For startups, software, tech, SaaS, these are really popular. And the reason is because oftentimes what they're doing isn't the simplest, right? It's not super cut and dry. It's not really obvious. So you need a way to lead your audience kind of along a journey of like how this thing is going to work, how it's going to solve my problem. And it's this kind of mix of balancing benefits with the actual like tangible how it happens. And so they're really powerful for simplifying concepts. I mean, that's kind of why so many of these, they're animations, right? Because you're just removing information. So you don't want a lot of information. You just want, hey, I want you to focus on this clock. I want you to focus on this. I want you to focus on that. And you're just directing their attention exactly where you need. And that's why animations are preferred for this style of video. Like if you're developing like the latest new like drone that's going to get all these awesome landscape shots or something like that, like, this isn't the video for you, right? You want to play to your strengths. So here you really are trying to help someone grasp something complex. They're also very helpful for customer service teams and stuff like that, which you guys probably don't have a huge need for right now. But what I kind of want to talk through is there's a little bit of a process to creating one of these videos that you can be aware of. It typically starts with like an outline, just kind of understanding what needs to go in this video, what's the order, what's the information hierarchy you're going to be following. Then it can move into like a script where you actually go word for word. Hey, this is what the voiceover is going to say. And then it goes to like a storyboard, or sometimes it's called a split script, where basically you have the sentence on one side and then the image on the other. So, all right, Joe's an accountant, right? And then it's like, so on one side it's Joe's an accountant. On the other side, it's like, picture of Joe. And it's like, Joe has to deal with this issue. And then it's like, that's the line. This is the visual it's going to go with it. So you can start to really see how this thing's going to progress. And this is the time to do the edits, make the changes to this that you need to make, because, it's easy to change just a Word doc with some images, right? But when you actually get into animating, it becomes like much more tedious to like reanimate things and stuff like that. So once you've got a split script approved, you'll get a voiceover recorded, you'll move into animation production and then revisions. But that's kind of how one of these things comes together. And, dear God, don't try to skip those early steps, because it becomes very, very difficult. And just, it's just, you're going to eat up a lot of time trying to make changes down the road. So it's good to focus up front. And these are typically pretty affordable for a lot of businesses, and that's why you kind of see so many of them. And there's kind of different styles that you can use for them. But they're great, especially for software, SaaS, tech.
Mm-hmm. And then our third video type here that we suggest for startups is a product video. And so product videos are just what they sound like. They feature and highlight your products. We like these because you can distribute them in multiple locations. You can obviously share these on social media. You can publish these on your website next to your products. And these are especially effective when you do that on your product pages, because they really, really highly convert, and you just set them next to any of your product images. But a few key things to remember with product videos that we've seen work is the type of shots that you do and you incorporate. So you definitely want to do up close shots of your product, like you see here that we did for Beard Club. And the second thing is you want to show like people actually interacting and using the product. We like to call it your product in action. But in this video, how we did it was we had two males and they received their Beard Club box, which Beard Club is a monthly beard beauty club service. And it showed them opening up the box, showing all the products to the camera, up close shots. And then also it shows them like using the product itself, rubbing it on their face. And lastly, they're like very happy in the last shot, smiling in the camera. Their beards look beautiful. And then another thing to mention here with product videos, kind of like what I said before for social content, is including text graphics to kind of highlight the main points. So here they have achieve a fuller look, this is one of like the main core messages that they really wanted to share with their audience. And then also you can include just the product name. So beard shampoo, for example. But yeah, that's a product video. And then this one is probably my favorite type of video for startups, UGC or user-generated content. And it's video content that your customers create about your brand. You guys have probably seen a lot of these videos lately on social media, and that's because they work. Like they really, really work. And that's because your audience is going to trust your customer and what they say about you more than what you actually say about yourself. If you're interested in creating this type of content, I would first try to see if any of your customers have actually already filmed videos talking about your product. If they haven't, you can reach out to your top customers, customers that purchase a lot from you, and you can just simply ask them to record a video on their phone. But you always want to make sure that you give them an incentive. So you can offer them like free product or free service subscription if they do so. Now, if you're really just starting out and you don't have any customers at all, you can do a little bit of influencer marketing. So if there's particular influencers that speak to your target audience, you can send them free product and ask them in exchange for a video. And we really love these, obviously, because they're cost effective and you don't really need to handle much on the production side because your customers are doing it for you. The only thing that you need to consider is a little bit of editing. So doing the cuts and then obviously adding any subtitles, which, say exactly what your customer is talking about.
Cool. Let's talk about crowdfunding. It looks like, Chloe, we're kind of okay for time so far, right? Like
we're good.
We're pacing well. All right. So Adam, I want to answer your question here. I don't know if you're still watching or whatever, but talking about longer form videos that aren't meant as marketing, and then I'll jump into crowdfunding here in a second. Longer form videos, like you're talking to a guy who lives and breathes marketing, right? So for me, like I'm marketing if I'm talking to my wife about what we're like going to have for dinner, where we're going to eat, right? Like it's all marketing in my mind. So when you're saying like you want to tell your story and share your story, I mean, I think maybe what makes it not marketing is maybe you don't have like a real goal you want them to take at the end of it. But really something longer form that you want to put on something like YouTube, the way to think about it is YouTube is Google, right? It's basically a giant like database of videos and it's a search engine. So SEO techniques work super well on YouTube, just like they do for blog articles and things like that. And it starts from research. So if you want your video, your long form video to actually have a greater chance of actually getting some eyeballs and getting some views organically, I really encourage you to do a little bit of research around some SEO techniques that you can apply to that video. And that, there's a lot of them. We don't need to go into them here. But if you kind of go down that rabbit hole, you're going to get a lot more out of that video over the long term. And the other great thing is typically it's, you want to get it a little bit of action right away. So once you get that video up, make sure to like it, share it, and get it out there to like your close friends and family, especially if it's like personal. It sounds like it's about your story, so that it can start get some traction that way, and encourage them to share it as well. But we can touch on a little bit more on that later. So let's jump into crowdfunding though, which is probably one super exciting for startups, right? Crowdfunding can really work well. This could also just be like, a business pitch about your startup and why it's valuable. But Lemonlight has worked with dozens and dozens of companies to produce these exact things. We've actually generated over 25 million in crowdfunding revenue through the videos we've produced for clients over the years. And the truth is with crowdfunding, like if you get it right, the sky is the limit. Like we've probably all seen like quite a few of these go around, but like if you really nail that like balance between solving a problem and being entertaining, it can have that viral aspect and can do a lot for you. So we just want to give you a couple of tips around these. Funny is hard, so if you want to try to make your crowdfunding video funny, you can give it a shot, but just fair warning, it is tough to pull off. So be careful with it, and at least be sure you're going to make multiple versions, because you don't always know what's going to work. Really what you're creating is kind of a story of how you decided to solve this problem, combined with everything cool about how you're solving it, with a really strong call to action for the crowdfunding piece. So there's different formats you can use, like make sure you have a hook up front, educate, entertain, strong call to action. We've all heard like problem, solutions, results, call to action, or you can kind of add into that the Simon Sinek method, which is like, why are you doing this from like a big picture perspective? What's personally important about it to you, which, Adam, might work really well for your video, and then go into the problem, your solution, the results you've generated from it, and the call to action, the action you want people to take. So crowdfunding videos are typically kind of live action, more docu-style videos. Maybe there's animation elements mixed in because you're kind of showing some kind of gadget, but very powerful tools. And again, it all comes down to the scripting and what the messaging is, and we'll get into the targeting later. That's all I've got on that one, Chloe, unless there's something you want to add.
Oh, no. Let me go to the next.
And if you see me looking to the left, it's because I'm seeing the chats over here. So that's kind of what I'm.
Oh, great. Thanks for keeping it.
You're right. You're right now.
I guess so. Now we'll get into video production itself. And Hollis, did you want to cover, kind of the differences, pros and cons of in-house versus outsourced?
Yeah, absolutely. Here are your real options, right? And so if you're a startup, maybe you're on a lean budget, maybe you have a good budget, but if you're on a lean budget, in-house production sounds, depending on what type of business you are and what you're trying to do, there's some, marketing guru guys out there you may have seen who, they do the cell phone handheld thing and they yell into their phone, that style of video works for a certain type of company. It's very cheap and it's, you can do it, right? So that's one style of in-house. The other style of in-house is where you most of the time you need a designated area, you build out a little studio, you light it properly, you have your audio, you have your camera, and then you can shoot the same type of content consistently, and it's relatively affordable. But there's a lot of challenges that come along with that as well. Is one, you need the space, two, you need the lighting and the gear, and you need it all set up properly. Luckily, the costs have come down on a lot of that stuff, but to make it look good is tough. And then you have to have the skill and the talent to do the editing, the post-production, and coming up with all the content ideas yourself and things like that. So in-house, there's some benefits. You can have some consistency once you get it dialed in. And then it's, depending on the volume of content you want to produce, it can be more affordable. Outsourced production is a really good option for if you want a little more variety in your productions. If you have, say, you need some animation in there that you can't do yourself, or you need help guiding you through the process, you can produce higher quality content usually. And with the right partner, it can be really scalable and reliable to know that you're going to get what you need every time. And then I think the biggest benefit to outsourcing your production is just saving the time. Video production takes time. The scripting takes time, the shooting takes time, the editing takes time. And if you're not already built for it and familiar with it and comfortable with it, it's going to take you a while to get to the level of proficiency that your brand might actually need, so that the video is not taking away from brand equity, instead it's adding to it. Because one thing to keep in mind is if you're putting marketing collateral out into the world that does look bad, whether you want to believe it or not, people have an instant knee-jerk reaction just on a subconscious level. They assume if the quality of your content is bad, that other things your business does might get bad as well. They'll subconsciously make that connection. So you got to watch that.
And then we just wanted to go over the 3 stages of video production, how we do things at Lemonlight, how other production companies do them. So if you're going to be doing this on your own, these are just 3 stages to help you keep on track, keep things in mind. The first being pre-production. This is sort of everything that we talked about before, the creative brainstorming of your video, figuring out, the type of video you want, the length, the style. If you have any scripting or storyboarding, it's included in this stage. And also any bookings that you're going to do. So if you're booking talent, hiring staff, even getting some props or purchasing equipment, that would all fall under the pre-production stage. And then production is obviously the video production itself when you're filming. If you are working with a video production company or if you're doing it in-house, definitely keep an eye and don't lose sight on the audio and the visual quality. Also things like lighting. And a tip for this is really to take advantage of the shoot. Obviously, you put a lot of money into the shoot itself. So it's a really good idea if you have, let's say, like somebody on your team in social media, to have them take behind the scenes content that you could publish later. Also, if you are filming any sort of lifestyle video with really great imagery and your product, really great product shots, you can have someone on your team also capture product photos. And these can be used, to publish on your website or whatever you need in the future. And then the third stage of video production is post-production. This is, all the editing, adding visual effects, any sound. So if you have voiceover, music, etc., and then any graphics. So let's get into video distribution. At this point of the process, you have an amazing video and your entire team loves it. You guys are like, oh, we did it. We made the video. But then you're like, wait, how the heck do I actually get people to watch this thing? And so that all comes down to distribution. And we categorize 3 areas or 3 distribution channels: own media, paid media, and earned media. And so with the right balance, kind of distributing your video in each of these places, you could really convert viewers in every stage of the marketing funnel. And so publishing your videos across all your own channels is probably the easiest way to distribute them. It includes every channel you own, so your website, blog, email, and also your organic social media posts. And so for your website, some areas that you can include your video are obviously on your homepage. If you have an explainer video, we would definitely recommend including it there on your homepage. And then also your e-commerce pages. So if you have any product pages and product videos, definitely include them there. Like I said before, it increases conversions. People are more likely to buy your products on your product page if they watch a video, because it gives them all the information they need in order to make a purchasing decision. We also added on here a blog as an area to distribute on your own channels. It's really an unlikely area for distribution. It's probably not the first area that comes to mind when you're thinking about distributing video, but it's actually very effective. And that's because of SEO. Whenever you add a video to a blog post, Google hasn't confirmed it, but it's like everyone kind of knows that it's more likely to increase your SEO. And so you're more likely to be on the first page of Google if someone's searching something related to your product or your services. And at Lemonlight, we actually tested this. We had like 4 longer form blogs and we added video content to each of them, and it boosted the SEO like crazy. It was actually insane. So if you have any videos that relate to any of your blogs, like you don't just want to add random videos, of course, but if it relates to the content, definitely feel free to throw them on your blog. And then of course you want to include them in your emails. Using the text video in your email subject line actually boosts open rates by 19% and click-through rates by 65%. So definitely include them in there. The only thing I would recommend is if you add video to an email, not everyone is going to be able to actually play it in the email. So what we recommend is just taking like a really great thumbnail from the video, an image, and then placing a play button on top and then linking the video there. But of course, you want to link it out to somewhere on your own channels. So your website, you never want to take them somewhere else like YouTube. And then lastly, of course, social media, organic posts. Obviously, you want to share all of your video content there. Just to make sure that when you share it, it's in the right dimensions. Because I know, like, for instance, Instagram, it may cut off your video if you don't have it like one by one. So just something to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's a great rundown, Chloe. And it's so cool because the video, I mean, you know, it lasts for a very long time. Like, you produce it, you can use it on all those different ways. And I love that little email hack. Like, people just, they love clicking on like that video. Like, it just, if it looks like they can click it in their email, they will click it. Like, it's always like the most clicked thing. Yeah. I always try to put it right up towards the top of the email, and it always gets good response. And then you bring them to a landing page that, you know, really hits on what they're looking for. And you're going to see great results from that. I mean, it really does just work. So this paid media, this next slide, this is a whole ball of wax. I mean, this really should be 10,000 slides. So in like thinking about how I was going to share this with you guys and knowing, you know, we're limited for time, after this call, I'm going to share about 15 links that are all like free educational resources that touch on this stuff. So if I don't dive into it here, you'll have all of that. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's a lot to sift through, but if you do actually go through it, you're going to be a pro when it comes to paid media and just a lot of marketing in general. I mean, honestly, these are some of my favorite resources. So I have them saved in my bookmarks. I go back to them all the time, so you'll have those. So first things first, I want to recommend that if you're going to take this on your own, if you're going to try to run paid media ads by yourself, spend a lot of time watching the resources that you're going to get after this call and consult with experts, talk to friends, see if you can get some guidance, because it is very easy to just start running paid ads and blow through a ton of money. If you don't set these campaigns up right, like in my early days, I set up a Google campaign for a painting contractor I was working for, running paid ads for them. I didn't choose the proper location targeting. I ran ads globally for them and spent $1,000 in a couple of hours. Like, so if you don't set these things up right and you make kind of newbie mistakes like that, you can really blow through budgets and piss people off. So I highly encourage you to either find an expert or do your best to become an expert before you dive into it. Some that I really like honestly, there's Udemy courses out there that are great. Perry Marshall was one of the first gurus that I looked into to learn about this stuff. He's kind of an old school PPC guy, but he does great work. And then in all those resources. So what I want to talk through a little bit, I'm going to just talk a little bit about social media ads, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about search ads, because search ads, I'm going to group YouTube video marketing in there for that. So YouTube video marketing is super cool, very affordable, but it's this giant ocean. So your targeting is everything. Like, if you're just going to kind of try to do some basic targeting in YouTube, it's going to be really difficult for you. So I want to talk through some of the targeting options you have. Before we get into that, though, you run your YouTube marketing off of the same platform you run Google Ads. So like Google Search, Google Display. So if you don't have a Google Ads account, just go ahead and set one up. It's totally free. You can get in there. You can see what it looks like. You can start clicking around. There's like helpful hints throughout, which aren't very helpful. Be very careful with the Google Ads support team, because their recommendations often are garbage and will land you spending a ton of money. But here's the targeting, the power that you have in YouTube ads. You can target by interests, right? So it could be like hobbies that people are into, things like that. You can target by demographics, age, location, income, gender, things like that. You can do content targeting. So like, they like this website, they watch this specific video. You can actually do video targeting. So your video can show up next to a video that you want to show up next to. You can target based off life events. You can do remarketing. Anyone who actually came to your website, you want to show them the video. You can do customer match, similar audiences. So like, if you have a list of customers, you can upload that and be like, only show it to people who are like that, or even only show it to those people. The lists just have to be a certain size. And one of the cooler things that I actually personally haven't even started to play with that's really awesome is you can do sequencing. So you can actually lay out a sequence, and in the links that I send you guys, this will be in there. You can lay out a sequence and say, if they've seen this video or watched more than a certain amount of this video, then show them this video. If they watch this video and they clicked on it, then show them this video. So you can actually set up sequences where you're really controlling the advertising experience that person's getting. Super powerful, really cool stuff you can do in YouTube there. So keep all that in mind. And then also, depending on the type of YouTube ad you run, if you do the skippable 5-second ad, right? You've all seen those. Basically, you don't get charged for that ad until they watch at least 30 seconds of your video. So they have the option to skip after 5 seconds. And then between 5 seconds and 30 seconds is basically free time where you're just getting exposure. So very affordable, great way to get exposure if your targeting is dialed in. So moving on to social media, don't want to eat up too much time, but moving on to social media, really super powerful. Again, you're going to have a bunch of links for this. In Facebook, Instagram, you can expect to get clicks anywhere from 10 cents to $1. And those will be clicks that actually bring people to a landing page of yours. What you need to understand is that not all traffic is the same traffic though. So in Facebook, you can do targeting for if your conversion action is say a traffic ad, traffic ads for Facebook, yeah, you'll get a bunch of people to your site. They'll be very cheap, but Facebook knows that there's an app somewhere that they can run your ad on that people click on by accident, and that'll be the cheapest click. So it'll give you that cheap click. So, and it's not a good click because they're like, oh, I clicked on that by accident, crap. So you've got to watch that type of thing. There's just a ton in there. And then influencer marketing, usually this comes down to a pay-per-post or affiliate links, or you can do percentage deals on affiliate marketing. I have some resources in the materials I'm going to send you guys on that. The thing about affiliate marketing though is just make sure that your brand or your product has the margins to support it. And to really make it work well, oftentimes it's a good idea to give a pretty juicy cut to whatever affiliates you're working with. There's lots of partners out there that you can look for affiliates to team up with. If you don't want to go the manual route, just reach out to people and build up your affiliate list yourself. Brand ambassador is one, Upfluence is another, Tribe Group is another. So keep all those in mind.
Great.
Sorry, crash course there. I know there's a lot there. I think we're putting our emails afterwards so you can reach out with specific questions if you have them.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows too, we're going to be sending this recording to everyone and also a copy of the slides. So you can go through it on your own time, review, etc. So moving on to the last channel of distribution, which we call earned media. This is a little bit trickier because you don't really have that much control over it, but it's essentially when other people share your work for you. And one way you can have or encourage more shares on social media with your video content is by running or hosting contests. Basically, the way that people would enter the contest would just be to share it on their own channels. And this is great because it puts your video in front of new audiences that wouldn't have seen the content otherwise. Another route you can go for earned media is with product reviews. You can reach out to, online reviewers, like YouTube influencers, or even asking your customers directly to write and record their own reviews. This includes UGC content that we were talking about. And of course, it's going to increase your brand's credibility and spread brand awareness. And then a third option here is actually just working with a PR agency. If you feel like you need that, it can be really beneficial. Get your work published on different sites and all that sort of stuff. And then lastly, we also included influencer marketing on here, just like we did for paid media. And this is just to represent that you don't always have to pay for influencer marketing. You can, reach out to influencers, asking them to do shout outs on social media, mentions and so forth. And many influencers are willing to, do this in exchange for something. So maybe a reciprocal mention of them, a trial of your services, free product. And depending on how much they can, give you an exposure, it just might be worth it to work with them. All right, so moving on to video analytics, our last section.
All right, let's get into the analytics portion of this. I mean, again, everything comes back to your goals, right? So, we like to look at things in kind of the buyer's journey, this like awareness funnel, awareness, consideration, and action. At each one of these stages, though, there's certain metrics you're going to want to watch, and it's important to keep in mind that, like I said earlier, all traffic isn't necessarily equal traffic. So if we're looking at like these things, really, what it comes down to is customer acquisition cost. That's the ultimate goal that you're trying to get to, is know that if I spend X amount of money, I get a customer at that rate on average. And so then you can go, okay, great. Through these marketing channels, I am generating a profitable return. I should try to do more of these specific marketing channels. So at each stage of this buyer's journey, you can look at certain metrics to kind of see how you're doing. Right now, awareness is really great. And the way to kind of watch it is look at like original source of your users or traffic by channel in Google Analytics. So traffic by channel, for awareness, maybe you're looking at like we have on here, like brand lift or awareness lift. Those would maybe be like direct traffic or referral traffic. You kind of watch those numbers, see if those are going up. Obviously, views and impressions. Ideally, you want them to be the right views and the right impressions. But really, so much of what we do these days is we're very conversion focused. So we want these things to we want to know the action people are taking. We want clicks, we want calls, we want sales. And so there you're looking at your basic metrics of like how many impressions is my video getting? What percentage of those impressions are actually clicking on my ad? What percent of those clicks on my ad are actually turning into, let's call it form submissions or customers? And you're watching those ratios, right? And then another one that's like not quite as well known as those obvious ones is impression share. See, it's harder to get impression share information that's clear out of Facebook, but like in Google, you can see, all right, for the search terms I'm going after, or for the targeting I'm going after, there's this much impression share available. So let's say our ad is running and we're getting 10% of that impression share. That means out of everyone doing that search query, 10% is actually seeing my ad. And then you can kind of work your numbers to figure out how can I increase impression share without increasing my cost too much. So, that's just a really high level look at some of the KPIs that I look at when I'm thinking about launching video campaigns. But ultimately, you really do just want to pay attention to clicks, how much are your clicks costing you, and then are they good clicks? Are you getting the right type of people? And if you're finding that you're getting cheap clicks, but they're not turning into sales, maybe your targeting's off. If you're finding that you're getting, a lot of clicks, but none of them are converting, maybe it's your targeting, maybe it's your landing page. Maybe your landing page is really bad. So you've kind of got to look at each step and make sure that you're doing your best to address each phase of the funnel.
And yeah, it's really important to track your metrics and video analytics, just because you want to be creating consistent content. Video is not just like a one and done thing. We always recommend that companies are creating it like every quarter if they can, especially every year. So it's really important to track these metrics and analyze the data that you've gathered. And that way you can improve in the future. And make sure to keep an eye on your viewers' behavior. So like Colin said, like what are people actually doing, and try to figure out why they're doing it. So if you can see that somebody's watching your video, but they're only watching it for 3 seconds, maybe think, okay, I need to use this information and optimize. Maybe I need to include a different shot in the first couple seconds. And also you can change things like adding a lead capture, stronger CTA. Like Paul said, it hands the pages that your video is actually on. Like maybe your landing page isn't that good and that's why people aren't converting. And also just create different versions of your video. You want to make sure to do that just so you can test the different versions, see which one works best. And like I said, you want to keep all this in mind when you create your future content. And that's all we have for today. Now it's time for you guys to get started. We actually are going to drop a link. If you guys have any questions or you want to speak with one of our executive producers, like if you have any creative ideas in mind, they are available to talk with you. And so Laurel's going to drop a link in the chat where you can schedule a call with them.
Yeah, and some of the great things about talking to our team is, unlike a lot of production companies, one, we can shoot anywhere in the country, anytime. So it doesn't matter what city you're in, where you're located. We have crews we've worked with in the past. What city you're in, where you're located, and equipment. Yep. And also on the call, you're actually going to get, we'll provide general pricing right there on the call. You can get a quote almost immediately. A lot of these companies, it'll take quite a while to get pricing, or it's not up front. We have consistent pricing across the board. Doesn't matter if you're a giant company or a small company. So just a couple of things to keep in mind. And then the people that you'll be talking to, they are absolute experts when it comes to marketing and video production. So they'll be able to add a lot of ideas and thoughts to what it is you're trying to accomplish too. So if you call up and you say, hey, I'm interested in doing marketing for this, I'm not sure exactly what I need, they'll be able to help talk you through that and land on kind of a strategy and a plan that makes sense for you.
Mm-hmm. And then if you guys want to reach out to us directly, you can reach out to hello@lemonlight.com. Our phone number is on here as well if you want to speak with one of us. And we're open for Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, drop them in the chat. I know Laurel's going to pass them over to us if there's any cues. And it doesn't have to be about, what we discussed today. Any general video marketing questions are welcome.
I have a question myself, actually. So one of the big things that happened during COVID, right, which we all know blew up, is TikTok, right? And I've seen in some of the slides you guys showed, like some of the examples of the images were TikTok. So how has TikTok revolutionized the idea of video marketing, and what can you give as far as advice is the best way to go about doing that type of marketing and making it interactive, but also making it fun, but also promoting yourself at the same time, and that kind of mix?
Yeah, I can speak on that. I actually joined TikTok last year. I've been obsessed with it. It's honestly like a little bit addicting. I probably need to get off. But my first recommendation for brands, if they want to make content, like short form content for TikTok or even Instagram Reels, because that's new now, is just go on TikTok and start browsing the content. See what content is getting like millions of views, because you probably want to do something similar. It's a completely different platform than anything else. I would also say, like, if you're on the platform, see what's trending. One of the main things on TikTok is obviously the audio. Every month or so, there's like a particular song, or not even song, like a sound that's trending. And if you use that and somehow incorporate it into your video, it's more chances that you're going to be seen. It's really, really easy to get like 1 million views on TikTok. So I would just encourage companies to try out content on there.
Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun with TikTok in the first beginning of COVID, so I enjoyed it. But now, with StartupStarter, we're also looking at how to, bring more awareness to startups and entrepreneurs and their needs by utilizing TikTok as a source. So this is great information. I mean, I've learned a lot just in this last hour. So if you guys want to learn more and you guys need to, iterate and get to the market faster and get more views on your company through video marketing, please make sure that you reach out to them. Again, you can reach out to them at hello@lemonlight.com. You can also go to Hollis at lemonlight.com or Chloe R at lemonlight.com. And definitely browse the website, see what some of the stuff work and some of the things that they've done already. Their team is amazing. They have been a part of StartupStarter since the beginning. So we thank them as well. We appreciate you guys for coming on and giving this great information, this great education on video marketing. I think that would be very helpful. If you want to refer back to this, you can easily go into YouTube, subscribe to StartupStarter TV, and you can refer back and you can see this video. You can also go to their YouTube as well, where this will be distributed also. So thank you guys so much for coming on and giving us this good education as well. And thank everyone who is on today for joining. And we'll have more great classes coming up. So continue to check back. You can also reach them. They'll be in the community. So check out their profiles and you can message them there. So yeah, any final words?
Thanks for having us and keep up the great work. It's an awesome platform you've built. And I'm sure it's super valuable to the members. We're so happy to be a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we're happy to have you guys as well. So we'll chat soon and have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, guys. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.